dear friend of mine, a young man that I consider not only a friend but a little brother. He is the president of the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League, which is the foremost civil rights and public advocacy group in Delaware. I'm proud to say that I served in the capacity that he serves in 20 years ago. It changed my life. I know it's changing his. I say this about Mr. Young pretty often, but if you're in Delaware, you will be looking at the man that, in my view, changed the face and color of Delaware politics 4 years ago. His effort and energy as he ran for mayor led him to a life of making sure that Black folks in particular and young people had real voice in Delaware politics. And I think what you are seeing now is a direct reflection of the many, many people who believe in Eugene's energy, were inspired by his example, and still seek his counsel. So the president of the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League, Eugene Young, will talk to us about voter registration and its importance. We'll also have two student athletes with us today as well, Yannick and Gwenna. I'm very, very pleased to have them here just to give their perspective on an important time. Why is it an important time? I don't think that anybody could turn on the news at any hour of the day now and now not understand how high the stakes are. And I'm not talking in a partisan way, wherever side of the aisle you land on, or if you've not participated in the political process before. Now is not the time to sit on the sidelines. It is probably one of the most important moments in American history, in my view. And I think we all need to be accountable and responsible and make sure, particularly folks who are connected to Delaware State, that we are standing up for folks who died so that we could have this very right. It's one of the most important fundamental rights, and we don't exercise it enough, in my view. And today could not be more important. I'd also say, too, when you think about voting, I'm sure Eugene will talk about this, sometimes in the usually in the presidential, you have a lot more folks voting. But whenever there's an opportunity to put somebody in elective office, you should go spend time understanding the candidates and cast your vote, particularly the down ballot races that matter. There's a lot that matters on the national level, but there's an old saying that all politics is local. So you should spend your time really thinking through who your state representatives are, your state senators, your mayors, your county councilmen. All of those things are equally important. So I hope you know that it is important and fundamental that we not only are good scholars, but we're good citizens. And in being good citizens, we must exercise our right to vote. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Lynda Murray-Jackson as she shines a light on it, as she's fond of saying. And then we'll hear from Brother Young and our students, Yannick and Gwenna. Dr. Murray-Jackson.
Thank you, President Allen. Good morning, Hornet Nation. Tomorrow we are going to be in a unique situation as part of our self-study process. Our Middle States VP Liaison is coming for a site visit. We sent our self-study doc design back in April and it was accepted. And part of this whole process is for a visit with the self-study VP Liaison. And then later we'll have the actual evaluation team. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, there will be an open session. Came out via e-news. There's going to be e-blast. It is for faculty, staff, and students. I have a challenge. She had 110 people, and I told her we could beat that. So I need you. I just wanted to remind you that we had a kickoff back in February at the MLK. We had over 400 faculty, staff, and students in attendance to talk about what this whole process is, and then COVID hit. So we've been working behind the scenes. The working groups have been working on the 7 standards and how Delaware State University is meeting those standards. Its mission, integrity, and ethics, the delivery of the student learning experience, support of the student experience, educational effectiveness, planning, resources, and institutional improvement, and then governance. All those working groups have been working behind the scenes over the summer to get us ready. We don't have our visit till 2022, but it's a big process. And you all actually voted or did the survey and came up with the 5 areas that were our priorities, which were student success, academic excellence, operational effectiveness, financial planning, and infrastructure, which is what we're using as part of our focus as we do the self-study. So I encourage everyone to, within the sound of my voice and beyond, to come out and show Dr. Idna Corbett much Del State love and what Hornet Nation is all about, and that we do know. She'll do a quick presentation and then have some question and answer. So please, tomorrow, 2:10, be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynda. And I just want to reinforce how important it is that in these moments, we really show up as a university community. It really sends a message to those folks who are looking not only to help us, but to evaluate our success. So I can't emphasize enough that your presence is critical. And that goes for faculty, staff, and students. And now I'll turn it over to Brother Young.
State. Truly thankful to be here before you today. I must say DSU has a special place in my heart. My mother is a Hornet, and my majority of my family members are Hornets. My sister made the mistake of going to Hampton, but we're all redeemable. Nonetheless, I want to thank you all, Doc. I want to thank you for giving me providing this invitation. Anytime Doc provides an invitation or invite, it's one of those kind of things where you lead with yes, and then you figure the rest out later. So you lead with, yeah, I'm going to do it, and then you kind of like figure all the other stuff out. So I'm appreciative of that, and I just want to thank the rest of the DSU family. I'm going to make my remarks a little bit quick and succinct, but I'm going to jump on a couple key points. One is when we talk about voting, I want to make sure that everyone has a couple of dates. I'm going to start and finish with this. So, you know, someone once said, how you begin, how you start is how you finish. So I'm going to start with this aspect of making sure everyone knows their deadlines. If you're a Delawarean, I just want you to remember that October 10th, if you're not registered to vote, that is your day. From our neighboring states, if you're in Jersey, if you're in Maryland, that date is the 13th for you to register. If you're in Pennsylvania, I believe it's the 19th, but you can all go to your Department of Elections and they can give you the specific information. But it's the 10th for Delaware, the 13th for Maryland and Jersey, and the 19th for PA. These are important dates for everyone to remember. Also, one of the key issues that, and I've been having multiple conversations with Department of Elections about this, for many students who are in college, because, you know, you may be in Dover, you may be living in Dover, but you may be from, like, Unique was just saying she's from Long Island. If you're from another state, but you're currently in Dover, you have the option. If you receive mail, if you have a lease, you can actually register to vote in Delaware. If you're already, most of your information is still going back to maybe your parents' home in your other state, you can use that address and you can just send for your absentee ballot. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of some of these important dates. But now I want to get to like why it's important, which is really burnt passions, is a deep passion within me. So I will take an example from my mother in particular. As I said, she's a DSU graduate. When my mother, who's born and raised in Wilmington, when she born and raised in Wilmington, she grew up in Southbridge area, East Side area, went to Del State, was the first woman of our entire family to go to college. She ends up going to college, gets a degree, comes back, becomes a teacher. My my aunts and uncles, her brothers and sisters, they all went and they were able to get jobs out of high school working at DuPont. Two of them worked at DuPont. One of them worked for GM, which she still does to this day. And the other two worked for the city of Wilmington. That opportunity provided them with the aspect of being able to provide for their families, me being one of them. And it provided like a longevity, a sense of wealth building that has been unprecedented. Our baby boomers were able to take in a great deal of wealth during a certain period of time. What does this all mean, Eugene? Why are you bringing all this up? Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of the fact that you between the age of 17 and 24, you all are in a tough space. And you have to be on it now more than ever. You need to be those who are voting. Your voting numbers have to be so high because the decisions that are being made will directly impact your lives and the lives of your children. And it may sound weird for me to say that, but there's an article that I always go to. You can Google it if you're on your laptop or on your phone. I'm fine with you taking me off the screen to Google this, but there's an article that came out September 11th, 2017. And if you just Google September 11, 2017, Forbes magazine, Black and Latino wealth. September 11, 2017, Black and Latino wealth, Forbes magazine. There's an article that's going to come up, and that article is going to say that it's going to give an estimate that the median wealth of your Black family will be zero. Let me say that again. The median wealth of the Black family will be zero by 2053. The median wealth of your Latino family will be zero at this rate by 2073, 20 years later. This article was written before COVID-19. This is pre-COVID-19. And this article touches on the fact that, let me even be a little bit succinct when we talk about median wealth. So when we talk about median wealth, we're talking about the middle, right? So we have, for our white brothers and sisters, we may have our richest white Americans, your Bill Gates, your Warren Buffetts, your Jeff Bezos on one side, and then you have our poorest white brothers and sisters on another side, right? And those are our brothers and sisters living in Appalachia, West Virginia, Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, many of these different areas. For their median hovers around 140,000. Once you take out depreciating assets such as the family car, so on and so forth. When you look at, for the Black community, you have our wealthiest brothers and sisters. That may be your Oprahs, your Jay-Z's, your Robert Smiths, and your Johnson, Bob Johnson, who created BET on one side. Then you may have our poorest brothers and sisters who live in areas of Mississippi, Alabama, areas where people are still getting hookworm because they don't have proper sanitation. And our middle, our 50-yard line is around $4,000. It's less than that when you take out other depreciating assets such as the car, so on and so forth. So what does that mean? So I'm saying this to you because in a world where our parents and those who came before us were able to get jobs with pensions, were able to get jobs that provided a sense of, they were able to provide a sense of security for families, in the sense of when after I retire, I will always receive this pension for the rest of my life. The sad reality is that is not something that's occurring for us as younger people. And I say us, I'm in my 30s, but it's not a situation that we're running into. We're dealing with situations of Uber, Lyft, things of this nature. And the reason why I bring this up is because when you look at the data, it shows how so many people coming from out of college are struggling to be able to to take grip in America that is forever pricing them out. And so I want to stress to you that it is important that you make sure that you're out here voting, you're out here engaged, you're asking the hard questions. What is someone doing around college tuition? What are someone's plans around the wealth gap that persists? What are someone's answers around the criminal justice system? Because all these things are interconnected, right? Even when you look at, and for some people may say, well, it doesn't really doesn't matter to me, and voting doesn't matter. But I would even stress voting even impacts everything from the roads that you drive on. Your state legislature, your state in Jersey, your assemblyman, or in New York, your assemblyman or woman, as they're called, they have a direct line in regards to the types of services that you receive on that local level. So it's your trash pickup, it's your the ability to get your roads done. You ride over the same roads every day, and you can't wonder why your rates of your car insurance is so high because you're running over horrible roads, or B, the fact that there's always construction, or the roads aren't properly done, which affects your essentially the rates that you pay in insurance. All these things are connected. So I want to stress how important that is for you. And that even goes into, as Dr. Allen spoke to earlier, us meeting the moment of the now. So what does that mean? That means even in situations with Breonna Taylor, Mr. Floyd, all these situations, they are being brought up to who? The Attorney General. They're brought up, the possibility of charges are being brought up to Attorney General Keith Ellison from Minnesota. It's being brought up to Daniel Cameron of Louisville, of Kentucky. These are duly elected officials. And so if you want a certain amount of change in your community, if you see certain issues that are you believe that need to be advocated for, that need to be changed, you have to get in the game. This cannot be a spectator sport, because the way this works is if you're not in the game, you're not taking advantage of it, someone's going to be taking advantage of you. And so I want to kind of close with this aspect that make sure you're voting, make sure you get out, make sure you mobilize others. And also what I would say is call people. So if you're wondering who's running in these different races, call them up, look at their campaign website, give them a call, ask where do you stand on certain issues, see what their answers are, so you can make a decision that's best for you, regardless of party. I want you to make the best decision for you. And so as I started with the data around deadlines, I want to kind of close with that, just making sure that you all know, again, October 10th, if you're in Delaware, that is your deadline to register to vote. If you're in Jersey, if you're in Maryland, it's the 13th. If you're in Pennsylvania, it is the 19th. Please make sure that you're getting that information out early. Mail has been slow because of COVID-19. So I want you to please take advantage of that data. And also, as I said before, please look at that information. Forbes magazine, September 11, 2017, median wealth, Black and Latino families. And there's also a New York Times article, I think it's March 19th, 2018, that talks about the decline that can be seen in Black wealth, regardless of wherever you are on the social economic hierarchy. So these are important issues that we need to touch on. That's why you're here in school. That's why you're learning. And more importantly, that's why you're going to be engaged. So I thank you for your time, Doc. I really appreciate it. And I think we're going to Yannick and Gwenna right now, but you're the host with the most, so I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you for that, Eugene, and we'll get back to you with some key questions, both from the audience and from, I'm sure, the panel. We'll start with Yannick.
Good morning, Hornet family. I would just like to say how important it is for us to finally vote. It's our time. And to vote in such an important year where there's so much change going on due to the pandemic, and also what's going on with activism with the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's important for us to understand that we have to vote for people that want the best for us and want the best intentions for us. And I know it can be overwhelming with everything that's going on, but taking a moment to listen to what candidates are saying or what people are trying to do for us as a country, because as we leave these walls of Delaware State University, we are going to the real world, like Eugene Young had said. We are going to fight for jobs, and we need someone who's going to be able to not only boost our economy, but be able to ensure that we have jobs for 40 plus years and be able to retire. So it is vital and important for you guys to take a time to do some research and understand what is going on, who you're voting for, not just on the national scale, but also on your local scale. It can be a little overwhelming, but don't be afraid to ask people, your peers, or do a little research and take the time, because our time is now. We can finally have a voice, do something different for our country. And not only can we use social media as our platform, which is very big recently, but we can actually go to the polls and actually vote for the people that actually want the best for us. So that's all I have to say is it's important to vote, go out, be the change, and be able to make a statement and make your own future worth it. So thank you.
Thank you, Yannick. And how are you voting this year? Are you going home, or are you mail-in, or how are you voting?
I'm gonna go home and vote and do the absentee ballot there and be able to sign and send it in.
Great. Gwenna?
Hi everyone. So just to hop off of what Yannick said, it's definitely we are the change for this generation, and especially this is a lot of our first presidential election. So I think that our generation will again have the biggest say for what goes on as whichever president is elected. I also believe that we all work way too hard in this nation to not have someone to well represent us. So just taking the time to do your research for who you want to vote for at both local and national level. So I actually use vote.org as a lot of my research, and just I recommend that for everybody. And also, I wanted to shout out to DSU Royal Court. If you're on campus, they're doing a voter registration drive October 6th today and the 8th between 1 and 5 p.m. to see if you're voted, if you're registered to vote, or if you just wanted to make sure that you are as well behind the B of A. So yeah, just getting out your voice. And I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So for me, it's a big deal to be voting because we are a swing state. So obviously our public vote determines as to who we have for our electoral college. So just to keep in mind that to advocate for your voice and what your opinions are and so forth. So thank you for letting me speak on that.
Thank you, Gwenna. Appreciate it. And you said you're going. Are you going home to vote?
If I could afford to do the 8 hours of a drive, I would, but I'm going to do an absentee ballot. So I actually had it mailed to the school. And if anybody wanted to ask questions about absentee ballots, I know the Postal Service here is actually doing a really good job with helping people out. So yeah, my absentee ballot's in, I'm gonna sign that out and stuff like that, so.
Great, fantastic. Okay, well, we're gonna open up for questions in a minute here. We do have a person who's actually run for office in Brother Young. And as I said, I alluded to this early in my introduction to him, but he's also been very, very involved in supporting, and I just mean supporting with guidance and thoughts, other candidates who are of color and young over the past few years. Eugene, before we get into the open it up for discussion, could you just give us a sense of how you encourage folks to get involved in the process more formally, what that experience has been like, both you personally and for the other folks that you've supported, and how you're seeing the face of Delaware politics change? You're on mute.
All right. There we go. All right, thank you. So I would say for me, so I recognize this. I recognize this. Oftentimes, when I ran, I was really fortunate. I had worked for, a big city mayor in the United States. I worked for Cory Booker when he was mayor and senator, as he's currently the senator of New Jersey. And I worked closely with him. And it wasn't until working with him where I realized, like, I can do this. And oftentimes we need people that can tell us and be straight up with us and say, like, you can do this. And so I really want to press on the fact that it does not take much, but oftentimes people put up the fog and the fog and mirrors to make you believe that it's too hard, you can't do it. No, I'm a firm believer that anybody can run for any position, as long as you believe that you can be of service and that you have a team in order to do so. And so I never want people to believe that I'm too young. I mean, even when you think about it like this, for all of the young people here, even when you look at from the standpoint of people saying you're too young to vote, too young to run for office. 29-year-old county councilman ran for United States Senator. And right now he is in the mix to be, or one of two candidates to be the next president of the United States, Joe Biden, right? 29-year-old becomes a United States Senator. That's almost unheard of, right? But you find that even here in Delaware, again, you had a 29-year-old, 30-year-old, a guy who decided to run for treasurer. What did he know about finance at the time? And from that perspective, I don't know. I'm sure he knew something, but I'm just saying the arguments that people would give. But that man became treasurer, then became our governor, then became our congressman, and is currently our United States Senator, Tom Carper. So I want to press upon you that anything is possible, but you have to be firmed up in the information that you need to know. You have to have wise counsel, and you have to understand the fact that you don't know everything. For me personally, I would say that running for office was one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my professional career. But it was one of the most gratifying things that I've ever done in my professional career. I lost by 234 votes, who's counting, but we were able to galvanize a wide array of individuals who were serious about getting involved in politics, who were on the fringes beforehand, understand the fact that they wanted to get involved, they wanted to learn more, that was their moment. But I would just say, like, it's a process. I always say, I'll give you a quick 3 bullets that I tell everyone that's going to run for office. A, you need to have 4 to 5 people that go to the depths of hell with you and are smart enough to help you get out of it. 2, B is you need to have a plan in order to connect with people to raise money from your group, 100 people that can give $100 in some cases. And C is you have to have a thirst of knowledge and continuing to learn, because you'll never know everything, but you have to continue to learn. Your next day has to be better than the current day, in regards to what you're able to learn and what you're able to bring to the table to serve the people, because that's essentially what this is about. It's not about egos. It's about how can you be of service to the men and women of your community.
Thank you, Eugene. Now we're open up for questions.
Okay, currently we just have one question. It says, I have received my ballots, but I don't want to mail them. I want to go and vote in person. What should I do with the ballot?
If you receive a ballot, it may be a discrepancy if you go to the poll, because once you receive your ballot, the Department of Elections believe they're expecting that vote to come in via mail or be dropped off. So I'll give you, I don't know if you're in the state of Delaware, but if you want to drop it off, you can take that ballot, you can fill out and take it to the Department of Elections and drop it off, because the Department of Elections has a rule that it must be dropped off before 8 p.m. on election night. So either they need to receive it by mail or you need to drop it off, but you would have to go to, and I would even say I would not wait for the election day to do it. I would fill out your ballot and take it to the Department of Elections in advance so that they have it, and so you don't deal with any other issues, because it's going to be election day. They're getting thousands of ballots through mail, people coming in. It's going to be a lot of craziness going on. So just something for you to just think about along that process.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, please do, Lynda.
Can you speak more to the importance of the downstate balloting on people's daily lives? Because everyone comes out for the presidential election, which is really important. But in terms of the traffic stops and the little things that happen in your daily existence, can you?
Absolutely. So it's your down ballot is so important, because it's literally.
Hey, Eugene, let's just I want to make sure we're talking plain English to particularly our students. Let's just define down ballot. So
down ballot is after the president, or in this race, the highest person on the ticket. So when you go and you vote, on election day, the top line will be the president, right? And so oftentimes people will just vote for the president, but they won't necessarily care or even vote for the other candidates down the ballot. That's where the idea down ballot kind of comes in. These are a long list of candidates running from everything from your county clerk to your state representative to your state senator, all these different individuals. And going back to what Ms. Murray-Jackson said, it is so important. I tell people all the time that your local elected officials have more over your life than the president of the United States does. Let me say it again. President of the United States does in many cases. So, and people say, like, what does that mean? So let's use an example that we all know about. If you want to bring up Flint, Michigan, right? Flint, Michigan, the water crisis, the water issues that occurred in Flint, Michigan, the people in charge of that water, it was not the president of the United States. While federal action may have been asked to come in and prosecute or deal with or rectify the issue, but the issue stems from the city level of the mayor of Flint and the state level, the governor of Michigan. These individuals made the decisions for the people that ended up occurring so that the people of Flint were able to get such horrible water, lead poison water, and so on and so forth. It also goes to everything from, I had a conversation with someone just last week. Many of your state representatives have funds to make sure that trees are cut in certain neighborhoods so that more light can come in. Like random things, that your streets are paved, that your garbage is collected, the education your child gets. I don't know about you, I'm not going to speak for everybody on this call, but I have family members that have been incarcerated. It is the legislation that allows someone to vote after they come out of prison. It's the legislation that allows for people to have the SEED program in the state of Delaware, which if you have a certain GPA, you're able to go to a DSU or University of Delaware. Like all these things start at the level of that local aspect. And if you're able to, and that's why I say certainly question your local representative, your local state senator about what are they doing for you? They work for you. You don't work for them. You pay their salary. What are they going to do for you? And I will close with this. You know, your ballot is essentially a transaction. Your ballot, when you go and you vote, it is the most transactional situation that you will be in my opinion, because you're going in with the ballot saying, I'm giving you my vote because I expect this. It is very much that way. I'm giving you my vote. I'm saying I'm going to vote for you, John Smith, Jane Doe, but I am expecting this from you. If you don't vote, then what you're essentially saying is you're just going to do to me whatever. I'm not having any say in what is to be my life, or at the local level, or at the community level, or at the state level, or at the federal level. It doesn't matter to me. Do as you may. So the key is you have to hold people accountable. And voting is one aspect of many. It's organizing, it's running for office, it's holding power accountable. But using that tool on your tool belt is very important to be able to get the results that we as a community need.
Thank you, Eugene. There's one more question in queue, but before we do that, I want to ask Unique and Gwenna, how are your classmates feeling about this year's election? Do you feel like they're going to go to the polls? Is there excitement? Is there concern? What's been your perspective?
Well, my perspective is definitely there's concern about obviously how people are going to turn out to vote. Because I know the 2016 election, people thought it was impossible for our current president to be the president. And so now people are being concerned about, well, people have the same perspective on this election. Oh, will it pan out? So I feel like really just as much as people don't want to listen to the debates, listen to them and really get that perspective of, okay, is this really someone I want to vote for? Because hearing both sides will really kind of determine how you feel about this election. Because I know it's definitely done that for me, and definitely made me realize who I am voting for. and how important it is to vote, because listening to the debates makes you understand this is what these people are going to do while they're in term. So a lot of people, I feel, are concerned about the turnout of how people are voting, especially because of the mail-in, and it makes it difficult. But just find your way to get your ballot in and find your way to vote for someone, and don't just not vote because you feel like your vote doesn't matter or it's somehow rigged. Like, your vote always matters no matter what.
Thanks, Unique. Gwenna?
Yeah, I have to agree. A lot of people that I at least know have been concerned about how either president that's going to be a part of this election this year, as to how they're going to vouch for concerns that have been happening, especially throughout 2020 this year. So I just have to say, like, research, reach out. Like Mr. Young said, reach out to your local people, federal level, about what their standpoints are on any subject, because ultimately we do have to deal with this presidential election, or whoever gets elected for the next 4 years.
Is there any excitement about an HBCU grad standing for vice president? I'm asking Unique and Gwenna from your perspective. Does that matter in our circles, in our class, among our classmates and what?
Yes, definitely, for sure. I know I'm excited to watch the vice president debate myself personally, but it's nice to know that there's a representation in the White House, and that there will be someone putting their foot down for HBCU pride, for the Black community in the White House, and knowing that, you know, we have a potential person to actually make things happen for us as a community, especially during the climate of the Black Lives Matter movement, to kind of make people question how they feel, and, you know, really make them kind of make change instead of just talking about it, actually enforce it and do it. And so I truly believe that she will do that. So it's exciting to see how an HBCU alumni do something that's big on the scale.
Gwenna, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree with Yannick on this, because obviously we haven't had much representation through HBCUs, but I think that being a vice president, she would do a great job for vouching for us, because obviously she's been through it. She knows how to vouch for it. And especially being second woman to the president, she would do an amazing job for vouching straight to Joe Biden for any concerns or anything, especially for all HBCUs.
Darryl, any more questions out there?
Yeah, what is the importance of the John Lewis Voting Advancement Act, and calling our local officials to make sure they support it?
John Lewis Advancement. I'm not, I can check for it, but I'm not quite certain of the John Lewis Advancement Act.
It's the Voting Rights Act.
That's the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act. So the Voting Rights Act, it was renamed after John. Okay. Yes, it was. It's just important to make sure there's been multiple laws, just to make sure that people there's checking of the federal government for states to make sure people are able to take advantage of their right to vote. Oftentimes there have been issues, and we need to make sure that people are able to vote, that there is not any voter suppression occurring. In many different states, you have issues where actual polling places are shrunk down from maybe 5 in one area to 1. You have all these different issues, maybe in North Carolina. I know a lot of legislation has come up around that, in other areas of our country as well. So it is important, because it is the watchdog in making sure that people's votes are not suppressed as we move forward. So I would definitely ask you all to take a look into that as well. And also, if you have additional questions, because I don't think, I'm a firm believer forums never end. They should always kind of consist on engagement. So you can reach out to us with the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League. You can Google us. We're forever available and at your service. You can reach out to me individually, Eugene Young, JR. That is my social media stuff, Twitter and Instagram, because we want to make sure we're all engaged. But more importantly, we want to make sure that we're getting out the proper information so that people are educated on these issues.
Eugene, is there, I know there is, but you talk about the young professionals group in Kent County that
Yes. So I have to give a shout out to Miss Danielle Craig, who she actually works as for DSU, does an amazing job. She loves her job. I'm going to say that at DSU. But Danielle Craig is actually the head of the YPs, and so they have actual members on the campus. And they have members throughout the community of Dover. So if you want to get involved, you want to get engaged, you can go to our website. You can go on our Facebook, our Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League Young Professional. We have a Facebook page where you can get any information. We do everything from voter drives. We honor unsung heroes of the community, finding ways to be of service here in Dover, in Kent County, as well as we have other parts of the auxiliary that work out of Newcastle County. But we are statewide in serving our community.
Well, thank you. I think there are no more questions in the queue. I do want to make sure that you all have paid attention to a few things that are of significant importance. Eugene, and keep me honest here, but October 10th is the final deadline for mail-in balloting for Delaware. Is that right?
For it to register, if you're in Delaware, yep. October 10th, the last day to register. You could do it online, or you can go to Department of Elections. And then for Jersey and Maryland, it is the 13th. For Pennsylvania, it is the 19th.
19th, fantastic. And Gwenna, you said today the Royal Court is hosting an all-day, I think 1 to 8 voter registration effort. Is that right?
1 to 5 behind the B of A.
1 to 5.
For today and October 8th as well.
Same place?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for this. This is important. I know that Delaware State University wants to lead out front on voting. It's very, very important that we as stakeholders are in the game and making our voices substantively heard. And I just want to overemphasize Eugene's role with the Urban League. While he is getting a lot of attention now because of his many fine efforts in the community, particularly around voter registration, the Urban League runs full year round. They do and active on issues that all of us care about, whether it be economic development, education, health disparities. You heard him talk about the wealth gap, and it is for any and all ages. So just to give you a sense, the Young Professionals Organization is open to students of college age as much as it is anybody else. There's actually an Urban League Guild as well. Now that's another auxiliary, and certainly the ongoing work of the Urban League itself. So I would encourage you all to get very, very connected and close to the Urban League movement here in Delaware and across the country. I want to thank everybody for joining this important discussion. Again, we are doing these every other week now. The next one will be very important. I'll have a special announcement right ahead of Deep Day, which I hope all of our students will be participating in. And in about 40 minutes, we will be featured on CNN. So if you are available, to hop on at about somewhere between 12:30 and 12:45. They'll be focusing on Delaware State and our testing protocol. So with that, thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for all that you will do. Remember that this is a moment of a lifetime, and we got to take full advantage of it. Thank you, and I'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you all.